Welcome aboard the Wedding Empires podcast with yours truly, Jack Bowie, where we plunge into the depths of creativity, entrepreneurship, and the love-infused world of weddings. Each episode, we're going to unpack strategies, insights, and stories that empower you to craft the wedding business of your dreams. Welcome to the Wedding Empires podcast.
This Ben Connolly.
And I'm Jack Bowie. Thanks so much for joining us again at Wedding Empires, because of course we are all about the world of weddings and the visionaries behind them. And today we're thrilled to have Susie Evans, who's the founder of Susie Evans Wedding and Events Co, joining us. Hi, Susie.
Hello. Good morning. Well, good night for you, but morning for me in England.
Thanks for joining us, Susie. I hear it's 7:30 in the morning over there. Are you having a morning wine or are you on the coffee?
I've got coffee.
Is it a single malt latte, maybe?
Possibly. I couldn't tell you.
Find a bit of Kahlua, bit of an espresso martini. Maybe not at 7:30 in the morning, though. It's a bit of a stretch.
No.
It's classed as coffee, so it's okay.
Okay. All right.
Good.
Yep.
So Susie is well known for her mastery of marquee weddings, crafting unforgettable celebrations at private estates and family homes all across the UK. And she's got a client list that includes celebrities and European royalty. Susie is an expert at turning a blank canvas into a bespoke dream venue. So in this episode, we're going to uncover the secrets behind marquee weddings. So from navigating the complex logistics to designing breathtaking spaces that leave guests in awe. So if you guys have ever wondered about how to transform an empty field into a luxurious wedding venue, then this conversation is for you. So grab your notebooks and let's get started. So Susie, I thought we'd kick off with maybe just your journey and how you got into weddings and what drew you to specialise in these sort of marquee weddings.
Absolutely. I've been planning weddings now for 14 years, come from a very financial background. And I was one of those people that got married myself and in the process started sort of in my wedding journey. So I initially started off about 17 years ago with a wedding design company, so sort of a lot of decor and things, and moved into the production side of things. Sold that business about 10 years ago, but in the meantime I did a diploma in wedding planning and kind of moved into that field more so because I just loved the experience of working with couples and taking on that journey. And just, it's then just, as you know what it's like as a planner, you just evolve and learn what you like, what you don't like, and absolutely love marquees. And so I've been doing it, probably marquees, specialising in them in the last sort of 6 or 7 years.
Susie, what is it about marquee weddings that you love so much?
I think it's the challenge more than anything. Like when I do a venue wedding, I do think, God, this is so much easier. Why don't I do this? At the same time, I think, you're essentially building a venue from scratch. So from the ground up, and it's the challenges of all the logistics and bringing all the different vendors in and making it bespoke. Essentially, you've got free canvas to do what you like within reason and budget.
And why do you think that marquee weddings are so appealing to high-end clients on private estates and stuff like that?
I think it's that personalisation, and it's that kind of bringing the family together, and it's almost their heritage. It's where they, a lot of the time it's where their family home, where they grew up. They feel it's very personalised. What they don't realise normally is the stress that it comes with it. But I think it's the bespoke element to it, probably the key thing for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think too, as a former wedding planner, you don't have that restriction on I have to use this caterer or I have to, use this bar provider or whatever. It's you can absolutely pick what you want, whether it's food trucks or,
Like, a lot of the time they have all their own wines and it's like no corkage, and it's just, actually, do you know what? At this time, we want to start at this time, and it's all, so much flexibility.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Go, Ben.
So, Susie, for people who are interested in the marquee weddings side of things, Jack's laughing at me here. So, for people that are interested in the marquee weddings side of things, what are the biggest challenges that you face with marquees as opposed to traditional venues?
I think that the biggest thing is probably people underestimating the cost of a marquee wedding. So it comes to the budget. So I probably think, 9 out of 10 clients will say, oh, we don't have the venue fee, don't have any of those costs. It's like, no, but you have to build your venue, essentially. So you might not have the venue hire, but you have to build the venue. And essentially, I would say, having a marquee wedding here, especially in the UK, you're looking at sort of 25 to 30% more than it would be generally at a venue. And also it's a logistics. So whilst you might have the most beautiful large garden, open plan, everything, it's always the logistics of getting people the access for the suppliers and building, especially if we're building huge structures. It's not just on the back of a van and put a few poles up. It's huge, long, massive, big ton lorries and things that need to come in. So that's probably the biggest logistic. And I don't think people realise the time it takes to build these. So we're normally in at least a week before building the structure, and then it's the aftermath as well for the D-rig. So it's, I think it's the logistics of it, which are probably the biggest thing to overcome.
Wow.
I think there's plenty of planners that haven't.
Welcome to Australia, Susie.
I'm in nature today. I think there's plenty of wedding planners that haven't done a marquee wedding yet and don't know all of these logistics like power and water and toilets and all these things. Can you rattle off, I guess, the kind of, I don't know, let's say core elements that you all the time have to bring in, and that's an added thing that people may not consider yet?
Yeah, and I think sort of along with that, it's also thinking about all contingencies of the weather as well, especially, here in England, obviously we don't have the summers that you do. So we have to almost guarantee rain. So, and I think that the key thing is the structure. It's deciding what structure, and also the type of, whilst it might look really flat to you, it's probably on a gradient. So you've got to think things like that. But obviously the toilets, the power is a big thing. And toilets, people, again, if they go, oh, I've got 5 toilets in our house, well, that's great, but you do not want 200 guests traipsing through your house, and they're not fit for commercial use in terms of flushing every 2 minutes. So I think those kind of, it's like the power, the structure, and definitely the toilets. And obviously the catering tent is where you've got to think they've got to build a full kitchen. So it's not just, again, a few frying pans, they've got ovens, the hob, so much has to be brought in.
Yeah.
I think also... Oh, sorry, Ben. Can I just ask something?
No, go, Jack.
Yep. I've done quite a few marquee weddings, and I think it's also important to think about the kind of different spaces, and that may maybe even making the toilets a moment, or an area off there where there's tall tables or whatever. But making the whole experience enjoyable. I think not forgetting.
And I think it's things like parking as well. It's especially a lot of the private estates I'm at, they think, there's been loads of parking. But some of them on such, especially here in England, they're all like really narrow lanes, or they're private estates, but they don't have parking all outside on the street or anything like that. They might not have or might have a field, but actually access to the field is a nightmare. So if it's raining, you have to get all the tracking down, and then it's the lighting. A lot of people forget about lighting. So it might be great during the day, but guests leaving, late at night. It's like it's all the safety aspect as well.
If you're in the business of making dreams come true, listen up, because the Wedding Academy is your ticket to success. Running a wedding business isn't always a walk down the aisle. It takes skill, savvy, and a whole lot of know-how. That's where the Wedding Academy swoops in to save the day. Imagine easy-to-follow certificate courses taught by industry pros covering everything from wedding styling to floral design to even marketing and business for any kind of wedding business. All Wedding Academy courses are 100% online, self-paced, and come with ongoing training and support to keep you up to date. And here's the cherry on top. I've wrangled up an exclusive deal. Just punch in the code PODCAST when you enroll, and bam, you'll score a sweet 5% off any course. Ready to take your wedding business to the next level? Then head on over to the Wedding Academy today at weddingacademyglobal.com. Don't forget to plug in that code PODCAST to check out with your special discount.
that kind of leads me into the question I was going to ask is like, what are some of the common mistakes that couples and that planners make when they're organising a marquee wedding?
A couple, I think that one of them is like backup power. So again, you can't power a kitchen from your kitchen, for example. You can't just plug it into the wall, it all works. So obviously
Yeah.
there's always a generator involved, but I always have a backup generator and they're linked up. So if one generator fails, and it does happen, and it has happened, it'll automatically link into the other one. And it's the wet weather contingency. Rather than going, oh, we'll be okay, just a few umbrellas, but you've got to think the structure, the type of flooring you've got. If you've got haven't got a decent flooring, water seep. I mean, I've had all sorts of disasters over the years. When I first started out, you just sort of go in, it'll be fine, and then had heavy rain and leaks and floods and all sorts. So I think the kit and the power as well. It's the amount of power that's drawn. And it's knowing what the limits are for everything whilst you work with an electrician, but you still need to have a basic knowledge of it. And people just don't even think about it.
Yeah. I've worked over in the UK and that sort of thing, and I know what the weather is like. The weather was especially precious when I was there, so that was good. But how do you handle everything that the weather throws at you over there?
For the last 2 years, we've had awful summers, in all honesty. So we've had a lot of rain, and it's tested my patience. And I thought I had the weather gods in my contract, but they've taken a walk for the last couple of years. As I say to couples, we have to have plan A, plan B, sometimes a plan C, depending on the scenario. But we need to make plan B just as good as plan A, and almost always prepare for the worst, because when it does happen, it's not such a shock. And I think people, again, it comes down to budget, because generally you have to spend a bit more to have your plan B working well. But yeah, key is we just have to embrace it and make that guest experience. You've got to ensure that you've covered every angle.
Yeah.
I think something else that people forget is just how much you have to dress a marquee. I think clients forget that, don't they? In that, this is what you're weighing up quite often with going to a venue that's got its own atmosphere and furnishings and things like that too. Oh, we'll put 150 or 200 people in a tent. It's like, then we really need to dress it. In order for it to, it might be amping up the flowers. It might be,
For us, we have a real difference in marquee structures in terms of quality. So you've got the local run family companies who have the marquees, which are a lot cheaper, to the obviously the high end, and it's a completely different experience in terms of look, because you've got all the linings, and there's so many different linings to choose. And like you say, it's then the florals. And if we're doing a big structure, you've got to fill that structure, because it will look really empty. And then you've got to get all the furniture and all the lighting, and it's,
and creating moments, lounge areas, high table areas, those sorts of things to really break it up and make it interesting. And the floor, people forget about the floor and the dance floor and, oh my God, all these things. Sort of giving me reminders of my last one. My last one wasn't great, actually. It was probably my worst bride that I ever had. This is one of my last marquee weddings. And but anyway, it's behind me. Ones as well.
You need a sip of wine after that, Jack.
Yeah, I know. I went back there in my brain.
It's a bit of reminiscing going on there.
So what about like permits and permissions and things? What are some of those things that planners may not realise if they're considering a marquee wedding?
Yeah, obviously, it differ in different countries and different states and things, but over here we have like a temporary events licence notice that's required if certain criteria you need for them. But generally, like if alcohol's being sold, obviously there needs to be a licence for that. But it kind of depends on the situation and where they are and what they're doing. But if it's what we class as a party, so nothing's been sold, there's no tickets to anything, and it's on private land, you can get away with it a lot more. Not get away, it's the wrong word, but you don't need the permits there. But I think for me, I always, obviously not really so much a permanent thing, but I think it's, especially in private estates, like, we've got neighbours, they're so far away. But obviously, as we all know, noise travels. And I think the best thing is to ensure that whether you get on with your neighbours or not, and whether they're miles down the road or not, I think it's making sure that you let everybody know, because it's just not just about the night itself, it's the traffic, increased traffic loads that are coming in before and after. So it's just keeping the peace with everyone, because the last thing you want is neighbours turning up on the doorstep on the night of the wedding.
Yeah, yeah. Susie, how do you coordinate all the vendors and like everything that goes on? Like, I know in Australia, wedding vendors is like trying to wrangle stray cats. Like it's a challenge. So have you got a system for that?
I work with the right ones. So
Right. Good
I think
system.
it's key, it really is key. And I only do full bespoke planning. So obviously over the years I've done on the day coordination, partial and things, but and that's probably harder because you are picking up somebody else's planning process and journey. Um, but I now do full bespoke. So it's working with vendors generally that I've always worked with before, that know me, I know them, and I trust them, and the ones I work with always go above and beyond. So actually it takes the stress from me. And without them, to be honest, they're the ones that create the day. Whilst I project manage it, I think, everyone's, "Oh, Susie, you've done amazing. And it's like, yes, I have. But actually it's my team around me that have created this. So yeah, I think it's about who's around you. I'm working with the right ones. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here, everyone. Surround yourself with awesome people. I
Yeah.
guess that might be why you're listening to our podcast. What do you reckon, Jack? Jack's gone silent. What did you say?
I turned it off because there was a train.
Oh.
Dogs, glass, trains. It's all happening.
Wow.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. And if you're wanting a wedding photographer in Queensland, I happen to know a good one.
Oh, do you?
Oh, do you?
So let's talk about lighting in a marquee. Have you got any sort of tips around, doing really beautiful and effective lighting in a marquee?
Yeah, so those people that know me and sort of the clients that have worked with me know that I go on and on about lighting, because I think it has the biggest impact of anything, because you can really change the atmosphere and you kind of need it to change. So, throughout the day, you have very different lighting to what you have at the night and during the night's time. So from candlelight but I tend to layer up my lighting. So rather than just have, let's have that lit up here, that, just have some uplighters. I tend to do a lot of layering up. So it changes throughout the whole day. And then at night time, it then changes again. And we kind of take everyone on a journey, but it's a very visual thing that they don't realise what's going on. But we probably put quite a bit of budget onto lighting generally, because I think it makes a huge impact. It really does.
Yeah, I generally put a lot into lighting as well, Susie. Yeah. So I guess lighting is one of the key components in creating atmosphere in a marquee. So have you got any other sort of tips and tricks for everyone, looking at marquee weddings, on how to create atmosphere and what they can do to really make it something special?
Yeah, I think Jack sort of touched on it earlier. It's almost creating areas within that marquee. So I always think, and it doesn't matter what the budget is, it's almost, you want that impact moment. You want people to walk in those doors, or, open up, whatever it's going to be, walk in that front and go, "Oh, wow," and not expect it. So I think a lot of people do lots of little bitty bits, but actually, do you know what? If you have even just make one big impact in the marquee. So I generally use, for example, like something like a bar. So whether it's bespoke or a standard, hired bar, but we make something of that. So they walk in and there's that real visual point for them. Creating soft furnishing. It's like layering up different textures as well. So changing things up a bit, mixing different chairs and just having those different elements of the space, so that you can, and if we create that nighttime, we just have like reveal walls and things. So you walk into almost like a nightclub, and I think it's about creating different spaces, definitely.
Yeah.
I love that. Different moments. What about for the sort of multi-day celebrations? How do you deal with those in terms of, I don't know, do you reset and create different moments? Like, how does that work?
Actually, all of mine are multi-day now. It's very, very popular over here. But they tend to, as I always say, let's try, if you've got the space, let's use different areas if we can. So again, it's weather dependent. but also people forget, oh, we'll just do everything in the same space. That's great. But what if you've got a cream carpet? So day one, you don't want all your guests walking in for a welcome party and it get completely trashed for the wedding day. So it's thinking of all those things, but it's also what's important to them. So like the welcome party, rehearsal dinner, it's do you want everyone there? Do you want the big, do you want just a small intimate group? But it's, again, it's creating, you need to engage your guests. You want them to feel like they're experiencing a journey throughout the weekend rather than just turning up, having a drink, having a chat, going back, doing the same the next day. So it's actually trying to mix up the day. So we tend to start quite informal for day one because generally most people have only just got together. So that all they want to do is talk and have a few drinks. But I also say is finish that early. People go, oh, yeah, we'll finish 10, 11. I said, it won't fit. If you say 10, 11, it won't finish 10, 11. It'll be 12, 1 or 2 because people, and I said, you do not want your guests, as much as you're having the best night, finish on a high that first night, but a bit earlier. It's, really key. And don't ever underestimate day 3 because people turn up hungover. They're not drinking. They might eat a little bit and it's think, oh, this is all a bit. So, but give it a few hours, they're back on it and they will not stop.
Sounds like a regular Monday for me, Susie.
Okay, can you share a memorable wedding that you've done that's had an experience with a celebrity or a high-profile client?
Difficult one because obviously, as you can imagine, they're all under NDA, so there's only so much I can say with all the ones I've done. I think the biggest thing with all of them, because like I say, a lot of my clients are quite discreet anyway.
What about Meghan Markle?
Yeah, right. I couldn't do that one.
Yeah.
You know what's really humbling to it is I think the ones I've done, they genuinely can't describe it. They've loved the whole experience and how discreet it's been. And the fact is, and they've all finished quite early, which has been great. But I think it's just they're quite small and intimate. So then the numbers are 100 or less. All of them have been, and what the biggest memory for me is normally like towards the end of the night when they're all on the dance floor. And I thought, there's no cameras, there's no video, there's nothing there. Everyone's gone home in that respect. But they are just embracing their time together with no one watching them, apart from me in the corner. That's probably been my big, I think every one of those where I've done sort of very high profile clients and I've just stood in the corner and thought, they're just normal people. They are just normal people and they're actually really enjoying that moment without anyone looking at them and watching them. But they've all been probably my easiest clients, believe it or not.
I love how you said small and intimate, 100 people. Small and intimate over here in Australia is about 10 people tops.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying most of Marquee weddings we tend to find they're kind of 150, 200 over here.
Yeah.
But anything like I've got a wedding of 75 this year, and I'm like, wow, it's really small. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
All right. So, what advice would you give a wedding planner who wants to go into marquee weddings?
I think the key is experience. Go and get as much experience as you can with other planners who are either local, or to you, but not necessarily doing marquee, but really highly logistical weddings. So where there's a lot going on, the more experience. So I think my biggest thing that helped me many, many moons ago was working with caterers. So I used to do front of house and just extra work every now and then and go and work with them or just shadow them. Because I think, especially a marquee wedding, caterers probably have the hardest job because they're having to create a full menu for 200 guests. And I literally at the end of the night, I think I'm so glad I'm the planner and not the caterer because I see the stuff they have to clear up and it's a long, long, cumbersome day for them. And I think the key is experience. Just go and get it. Go and shadow people that you admire, want to work with, and just be open to doing as much as you can. The more hands-on experience you get, the better it will be for you. Definitely.
I think that's really excellent advice because I think a lot of people don't understand the level of work that's in that sort of building and bumping out. In my youth, I worked on Cirque du Soleil, and even though one of my jobs was in the VIP tent, we all had to build it. We all had to pack it down, which was the first couple of weeks of our working in the VIP tent. But, that was hard hats, the proper
And I
boots
think also
on.
you have to start off, the weddings
Yeah.
I used to do many years ago, I was putting all the chairs out. I was doing that. I was like helping run the bar. I was doing this. And,
Yeah.
you've got to be hands-on. And, now obviously I do take a step back and I've got teams that do that and I kind of can oversee it all. But doing all that has given me where I am today. It gives you the experience. Yeah.
So, Susie, I've got a two-pronged kind of trends question for you now. So, brace yourself.
I'm holding on.
So, the first part of it is what are the trends that you see emerging, and what are the current trends when it comes to marquee weddings?
So I'm going to stop you with the word trend, if I'm going to be honest. So in the luxury market
Amen.
over here, we don't talk about trends. So I would say, like, the word luxury to me is almost bespoke. So whilst you get everything over Pinterest and, Australian, US, the States, there's obviously so much out there. And I think in the UK, it's harder to do a lot of the things as well. We just don't have the vendors out there that do what you guys do. But for me, I think that, I hate using the word trend, I think it's immersive events are key at the moment. They are really, and I think, again, almost immersive is a new word for luxury being overused, because they go, oh, it's so immersive. It's like, no, it's just flowers and a tree. It's nothing. There's nothing immersive. It was immersive, but it's just a normal kind of standard setup. But immersive to me is actually really engaging the guests. So from when they walk through that door, so turn up to right to the end, that there's so many different things, elements. Again, it's layering up elements as well. So we do a lot of where we have actors in, we have performers in, and it's engaging those, but not just pockets of it, because you don't want to overwhelm the guests either. But I've seen a real rise in trying to create experiences on the day rather than just having drinks, and we're moving away from the kind of tradition of we go and say, okay, we're gonna have the first dance, we're gonna cut the cake. It's like, you've got to. Why have you got to? So we kind of like step back and go, what do you want from your day? What's really important? I mean, there'll always be an element of tradition and timings, but we're starting to move away from it now, making a really bespoke experience.
Yeah.
So I probably doesn't answer your question, because it's, I struggle with the word trends.
Like, and that's totally fine, because I do as well. From a photography standpoint, trends just annoy the hell out of me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the word trend, I'm going to turn it into the word style. So have you got a signature style, that's something that you find that you always do, that is just, this is a Susie Evans event?
I'm quite well known for, again, that word bespoke. So when you look at my grid on Instagram, it's not beautifully curated in terms of every wedding looks the same. So we really embrace what the couple wants. So, everyone thought I did a wedding last year, and they everyone refers to the pink bar wedding. And if you look on the Instagram, it appears everywhere, but that's kind of almost really taken off, because I know the production company have ended up having so many inquiries on the back of it. So I think people, and I'm sort of known for doing that immersive and guest experience is probably key. So rather than and I think with the budgets, everyone talks about, oh, beautiful, beautiful flowers, everything. But actually with those budgets, your weddings will generally, the settings will be beautiful. So I can talk about that. It's the food, the drink, the immersive experience, the guest experience. So that's what I'm quite well known for over here, definitely.
Yeah. I've got a bit of a habit of going rogue as well, Susie. So I'm going to ask you a question that isn't on our list.
Okay.
You're in quite of a niche market with regard to the marquees and putting it all together and managing everything that you do. So within that niche market, what do you think has been the most effective marketing tool that you've used to build yourself?
Just putting out there what I do. It's
right.
So I think it's just being really, and talking, like, I know my ideal client to the point I know where they shop, I know where they live, I know how they talk, and I know, where they go on holiday. And, right, so I can picture them, I can see them in their kitchen. It's got that level of detail. And whilst I don't live that life, I'm very good at adapting and understanding that lifestyle that they live in. And I'm just really, really honest. And I think, and I always, whenever I speak to a client, whether I win them or not, I'll always dig deep into how they found me. and why did they want to talk to me? And if they did win, if I did win it, I'll then actually find out, okay, what made you choose me? Because it's all won it. Well, I've won it, brilliant. But actually, I want to know why I've won it. So, and they generally, if you ask the questions, they'll be really open. And I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's because of my probably approach and very friendly, approachable, and just say it how it is, honesty, in terms of they'll say, I've got a budget of 150,000. I'm like, that's brilliant. But you want to do 4 days with that. That's not going to happen. And just being realistic with budgets. And yeah, I think it's for marketing, I'm not quite marketing at all. And I don't pay for any marketing, but I just put out there what I do, what I'm good at, and just keep to that same. Try and keep it. I do other weddings as well, but actually my niche is the marquee, so that's what I focus on and talk about.
Great. Yep. Ben, you got your famous question?
Oh, it's back to me.
Yeah, you're doing so well.
I've got a bit of a guest question. I've got a bit of a guest question that I ask all of our guests towards at the end of the show. If you were to walk outside and run into an 18-year-old version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself around success and business, knowing what you know now?
Biggest mistake I made is not knowing my worth. So for years, I'm going to say 14 years ago, that we didn't have the planners like you do now. We didn't have the coaching, mentoring, all the supports. So I just always was in my own little bubble, and I stayed in my bubble for too long, I think. So I think it's go out and just do it. Just go and do it, because the biggest regret is not doing it. So we can all make mistakes. We all make them. And I still make mistakes even to this day. And I'm still learning in my job. But I think knowing your worth and value your worth and charge the bloody right amounts, because it's driving me insane now. I'm here, and, I have been there. I'm not going to lie. I'm completely honest in terms of, I have undercharged many, many years ago. And that's why it's taken me so long to get to where I am now. Whereas obviously lots of planners are coming in and proving successful quite quickly because they are charging their worth and they're doing really well. But it's the ones just don't do what I did. And yeah, it's my biggest bugbear at the moment.
It's good advice.
Love that. Yep.
So if you want to plan a marquee wedding with Susie, all you need to do is go and hopefully find her on her website, and maybe she'll have availability. I think she's pretty popular. SusieEvans.co, and it's Susie with a SUSIE. We'll pop it in the show notes as well. Plus, you can find her on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks so much for your time, Susie. It's been lovely getting to know you.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Cool.
Thank you very much, Susie. Lovely to meet you.
We'll get you back, because there's plenty to learn and share about Marquee. So we'll get you back in the future for sure.
Fabulous. Look forward to it.
Cool.
This episode of Wedding Empires is brought to you by the Wedding Academy, where you can start and grow your wedding business. We offer certificate courses, group coaching programs, and a whole heap of templates and worksheets and things to help you get started and grow your wedding business. For more information, visit weddingacademyglobal.com. And don't forget to use your 5% discount code PODCAST when checking out.